The most competitive 100-mile race in the world is next weekend, and the competitive field is stacked. Back in June, I made a prediction video about the Western States 100, and I did terribly. Both of my picks to win DNF'd that race, and the winners took everyone by surprise, except this guy. Nonetheless, the stoke of UTMB is just as high, and I wanted to share my thoughts about this year's Ultra Trail du Mont Blanc, starting with the women. Number 5, Magdalena Belay. Magda has a pretty good track record at 100-mile races. She won the 2015 Western States 100 and finished just second at this year's Western States. Last year at UTMB, she proved she can compete and ran to a 5th place finish. Once again, I think she'll run well, but I don't see her competing with the top Europeans. Number 4, the Brazilian runner Fernanda Maciel. Maciel's been running trail ultras for a long time. In 2009, she won one of UTMB's sister races, the TDS. More recently, she's had 3 top 10 finishes at UTMB in 2010, 2012, and 2014. In the last 2 years, she's finished 3rd in the desert stage race, the Marathon des Sables. I don't think she'll compete for the win, but I wouldn't be surprised to see her toward the front. Number 3, I'm going with the Spaniard Núria Pikas. Pikas has been one of the top ultramarathoners for quite a few years. She finished 2nd at UTMB in 2013 and 2014, both years that the American Rory Bozio was on top. This year, we watched her crush the Hong Kong 100K in course record time, proving that she can run with the best, which is why I have her as my 3rd place pick. In 2nd place, I expect to see the Swiss runner Andrea Hüser. Hüser races a lot. In fact, she's run 9 ultramarathons this year so far. Nonetheless, that doesn't really seem to slow her down. In fact, despite running a total of 13 ultramarathons last year, she crushed the mountainous 100-miler on Reunion Island, the Diagonal de Fou. Just like her 2nd place finish at UTMB last year, I wouldn't be surprised to see her do it again this year. Finally, the winner. There is no way I predict anything other than another Caroline Shaviro victory. She destroyed the Hard Rock 100 this year and might have had a shot at the course record had she not spent over an hour off course in the middle of the race. Not only that, but she won a gazillion other races last year, including the UTMB itself, making her the defending champ. This year, I think it's obvious it's Caroline's race to lose. And one honorable mention. I know there's going to be someone in the comments that says, what about Kasey Lichtig? First of all, I'm stoked to see Kasey in this race. She's been a top runner in the United States for the last few years, but hasn't really had the opportunity to race internationally. Unfortunately, Kasey lives and trains in Nebraska, and UTMB takes place in the French Alps. Not only that, but some personal problems as of late have suppressed her training a little bit. I sincerely hope she challenges for the win, but for this race, I think she's a bit of an underdog. Time for the men. I am so excited for this men's race. I've always wondered when guys like Zach Miller, Francois Dain, Jim Walmsley, and Kilian Jornet's racing schedules were finally going to line up, and guess what? It's this year at UTMB. This is the matchup we've all been waiting for. So here are my top 5 picks, and believe me, there's a lot of superstars to choose from. Number 5, the Lithuanian Gediminas Grinius. I'm pretty sure that's not how his name is pronounced, but it sounds cooler that way. In 2016, Grinius was always the guy people were looking over their shoulder for in the last half of the race. He finished 2nd at UTMB last year and eventually won the Ultra Trail World Tour. There are a lot of people who could challenge him this year, but I think Grinius has the experience to finish near the front. Number 4, the self-proclaimed Cappuccino Cowboy, Tim Tollefson. Tim ran incredibly smart last year. He hung back early and made his move late, and he finished looking extremely fresh. He's raced well this year, taking 5th at the Hong Kong 100K and 2nd at the Speedgoat 50K, but I know he's got his eye on UTMB. Despite finishing so well last year, I do think there is room for improvement this year, but with the field as stacked as it is, I think 4th is the best he'll get. Number 3, I have to go with Francois Dain. He's raced well this year for sure, including a win at this year's Madeira Island Ultra Trail, but what I remember most about Dain was his crushing victory at last year's Diagonal de Fou, despite wearing a goofy hat. Dain has an unbelievable running resume, and even putting him in 3rd place doesn't seem right, but that's just the way it is with this year's race. Number 2, before I give this prediction, please be sure you're sitting down and not holding a hot beverage. I'm going with the man, the myth, the legend, Kilian Jornet. He didn't race much last year. He spent most of his time lounging around at 18,000 feet on Mount Everest. But still, he won the Marathon du Mont Blanc this year, and the Hard Rock 100 with his arm in a sling. What even is that? For years now, Kilian has been thought to be the greatest of all time, and putting him at number 2 is a huge stretch, but sorry Kilian, that's where I think he'll finish. Number 1, we need to talk about Jim Walmsley. Walmsley was the heavy favorite at this year's Western States 100, so much so that in iRunFar's prediction contest, he was picked by 1,056 people to win the race, including myself. And the guy with the next highest, Jeff Browning, was picked by only 11 people. On race day though, he ran like a madman, and by the time he got to the river at mile 78, he was toast. I have no doubt that Jim Walmsley has the talent and the training to win this year's UTMB, but I'm not sure he has the maturity. On the contrary, in a Runner's World article following Western States, he said his goal was to finish in the top 5 at UTMB. What? The top 5? At Western States he said he wanted to not only win, not just set a course record despite difficult conditions, but to break the course record by over 45 minutes. Now he just wants top 5? I hope that statement is an indication that he's prepared to run a little smarter this time around, and I sincerely hope he's able to do just that. And that's it. I left an extraordinary number of favorites off this list, including Zach Miller, David Laney, Xavier Thevenard, Pau Capel, Sage Canaday, and like 10 other people. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with these lists. I love chatting with folks about what they think will happen at this year's race, and it's certainly going to be really exciting. If you liked this video, or you'd like to follow my own crazy ambitions to one day win the Western States 100, please feel free to click the subscribe button below this video. Thank you.